AMD dominating new spaces that they're entering into. The RTX 3060 launched yesterday, or did it? And we got some Final Fantasy VII remakes, including Crisis Core. So let's get into the tech news. My name is Host, and I'm your Brett. We're gonna go over the hottest tech news that's on the internet. So why don't you hit that like button with the ferocity of 1,000 Bretts and get subscribed so that you never miss an episode. And let's start off with that top story of AMD continuing to dominate. And this is coming as a report of Samsung and AMD are gonna be entering into the mobile laptop space. And I know that sounds crazy, but this is going to be a new attempt at getting ARM products on Windows laptops, which Samsung has done before, but only with Qualcomm. And from what we've been seeing from the Samsung AMD partnership that they're going to be entering into with phones, this could make it so that lower end Windows laptops are actually performing quite substantially better than they are right now. And it's a space that a lot of other companies have been completely ignoring. Intel Atom hasn't really developed a whole lot in the past couple of years. Nvidia is staying out of this space altogether, but there's going to be continued pressure at this lower end, especially now that Apple is developing their own silicon, and getting into the ARM processor is going to be necessary as the years move forward. And so AMD and Samsung fusing together to create this holy matrimony could potentially allow them to do it effectively, do it properly, and take over the space. So AMD continuing to win, and it looks like they're going to continue to win in the APU section because we have reports now of Ryzen 7000. I know, is apparently going to be called Phoenix, and it's going to hold Zen 4 cores plus some form of graphics that we're not 100% sure on right now. Currently, we're on Vega. The next one's supposed to also be Vega. Maybe. We don't know when we're getting Navi on an APU, and that bugs me ever so slightly. But what also bugs me is Intel's attempts at marketing. They are just getting more and more desperate. AMD's just like, hey, we've got technology. We're going to get into these new spaces and we're going to dominate them. Intel's going to be like, hey, we've got listen, our PCI Express is faster than yours. But it's not, but it is if you look at the right benchmarks. Mr. Intel, who wants to only look at real world benchmarks when it comes to comparing itself to anybody else, now wants you to know that in PC Mark 10 quick system drive benchmark, okay, their processor, their 11th gen processor is 11% faster than the 5950X. Look at that chart, that relative performance chart, 1.11 compared to 1. We don't know what the actual number is, we just know relative performance. And look at freaking that. Intel destroying. That's why I buy Intel. It's better at this one benchmark. Frick yeah. Nvidia's getting better than itself. A year ago, they came out with their fourth quarter financial results, and they are doing quite well, up 61% year on year in revenue and up 61% in operating expenses. So their net income was also up 53%, and they're making a lot of money. Diluted earnings per share also up 51%. Nvidia's making a whole lot of money, and we'll talk about their new launch in a second. But first, I have to. Oh, what is that? It's the Bitcoin update. Bitcoin doing all right, down 7.7% over the last 24 hours, 24-hour low, $46. It went all the way back up to 52 until it got down to 40. So what's that coming? It's the GameStop update. I thought that was gone. Oh, GameStop rallying, in case you didn't hear, went up over 100% 2 days ago, and yesterday went up 18.56% to $108. It was at $40 2 days ago in aftermarket trading and went down to 106, but still, that is crazy. GameStop is continuing to fly by, and we'll keep you going with the stonks updates in future episodes of Hot News. But that's it for the GameStop update. GameStunk. Speaking of stock, RTX 3060 launched yesterday, or did it? You got all the reviews. As always, I recommend the Video Cards Roundup, where you can find any and all reviews that came out on the RTX 3060. Essentially, it's a good replacement for the 2060 at $329. But in case you want to go to Best Buy, you can see, what's this? RTX 3060, $500. It's the same price as a 3060 Ti. This 3060 from EVGA, $390 compared to the Founders Edition 399's 3060 Ti. No, number one, they're not in stock. Number two, those prices are ridiculous. Number three, what in the gosh dang heck is happening? This is awful. And it might potentially get worse. Taiwan is apparently undergoing some sort of water shortages that are happening because of a mild typhoon season that's been happening. So there's water restrictions that are currently going on across the country, which has led to TSMC apparently trucking in water for them to actually continue to produce the chips that they they need to because they're not unaffected by the restrictions that are being applied. So this could potentially develop into something more. It could be alleviated with just a good rainy season. We'll just keep an eye on this, but chip shortages could get worse. Hold your turkeys on that. And Valve was trying to hold its turkeys about information that it didn't want to divulge to Apple, but now a California court has ordered that Valve needs to provide information on more than 400 Steam games to Apple so that they can understand how they've been operating with profit and all that. This is part of the ongoing war between Apple and Epic Games, where Epic Games doesn't want to pay money and Apple's just like, no, shut up and enjoy it. Give us your money and then smile. Epic Games is just like, I don't have teeth. I don't want to smile. And then we got a bunch of other game updates that happened yesterday. PUBG announced its PUBG New State mobile first battle royale game that's going to be set in 2051. It's not coming out in 2051. It's just set in the future. And it's going to have a whole bunch of new weapons and vehicles and just all, it's supposed to be futuristic shooting everywhere. And we also got a report that Dragon Age 4 is going to be getting rid of its multiplayer focus, instead focusing on its single player experience. This is because Respawn did so well with Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order that EA was like, hey, maybe people do want single player experiences. And now BioWare is developing a single player game, which, gee, this is nice. I like it. I'm a little frustrated, which I also about the Final Fantasy VII Remake update that happened yesterday. Number one, they announced the new DLC that's coming out for the game, including Yuffie that's going to be a part of it that's coming out in June, as well as tagging along with that, there's a PlayStation 5 visual upgrade, frame rate upgrade, and all of the stuff that you would expect on a next-gen console. Actually, it looks like it runs at a pretty solid 60 FPS. They're calling it the Intergrade, and it's going to cost a little bit more than the original one, but June 10th is when we're supposed to get the DLC for Final Fantasy VII Remake. But also with that got announced two new Final Fantasy VII mobile games that are supposed to be coming out. One's going to be a battle royale. It's called First Soldier, and it's set before the events of Final Fantasy VII, but the other one is essentially like Final Fantasy 15 Pocket Edition for Final Fantasy VII Remake. So it's a demake of the remake, but includes parts of the story from Advent Children, Crisis Core, and Dirge of Cerberus, and Before Crisis. So it's like a whole package wrapped into, so you get Crisis Core as a remake demake, and that's how it's on mobile too, coming out next year for iOS and Android. What is Square Enix doing? But as far as I know, people who like Crisis Core are going to be super excited about that.
Me? Gungaga.
And with that being said, this is the end of the hot news. Why don't you check out yesterday's episode of Hot News right over there. You can check this playlist right down here in case you missed any episodes this week to catch up on the tech news that's been going down. And you can also get subscribed with that little button down there. My name is Host and I'm your Brett. I'll see you in the second episode later today. Cheers, friends.